To the spotlight of the day, it was back in 1952 that India and Pakistan first played a test match. But despite 60 years of cricketing history, politics still continue to strain sporting ties. A proposed cricket series between the two arch rivals in December is unlikely to go through after Shiv Sena workers broke into the BCCI headquarters in Mumbai today, protesting against the series. They even threatened to prevent Pakistan umpire Aleem Dar to officiate in the India-South Africa cricket match that will happen on Sunday. Following which, not only him, but also cricketers turned commentators Wasim Akram and Shoaib Akhtar have now decided to pull out of the 5th One-Day International in Mumbai. According to the PCB chief Shahryar Khan, a bilateral series between India and Pakistan now looks highly unlikely because the BCCI has simply made no efforts to meet him. He adds that Pakistan may also be boycotting the T20 tournament, which is happening next year, remember. That could also be a possibility.
There has been absolutely no word from the BCCI as to how they intend to move forward, to have the meeting, to reschedule it or what. Nothing at all. I am not optimistic now after what has happened here, because obviously there are certain pressures that are working, and that means that one cannot be optimistic. I would have liked the series to have taken place, but as I speak to you now, the chances are very low.
So is India's image as a cricketing powerhouse getting marred by such acts of vandalism? To discuss that, I'm delighted to have two of India's most renowned cricket experts, Mr. Ayaz, Memon and Pradeep magazine on the show. Ayaz, thanks so much for joining us. Let me start with you. It has been hard to extricate India-Pakistan cricket ties from politics. I mean, we have seen every time India and Pakistan play together, it always comes under a lot of protests and evokes a lot of passion. We still remember the Wankhede pitch being dug up by Shiv Sena workers back in 1991 ahead of a test series between the two countries. But despite all that, despite our checkered past, if you were to put it like that, do you think we have hit a new low in the last 48 hours, owing to all that we've seen, activists breaking into the BCCI office and Wasim Akram and Shoaib Akhtar pulling out of the 5th ODI?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've besmirched the name of Indian cricket, and I am personally, I feel very sorry because I come from Mumbai, which has been the nursery and the bastion of Indian cricket, and to find that, you know, these kind of things happen. Now, there are a couple of things. One is that the the government perhaps should have been a little more wary and known what had transpired over the previous 7-8 days, and perhaps been alert to the dangers of having or allowing a meeting like this to take place between the president of the BCCI and the chairman of the PCB, because obviously this was a chronicle which was foretold of this protest. You know, I mean, anybody could have seen it coming. The other thing is, why did the BCCI choose this city? They could have done it anywhere else. So that apart, I think the fact that it was done, I think is very harrowing, and it sends out very demeaning signals to the rest of the world about what we all are.
Pradeep, come in on that, because the moot question is, has the image of India as a cricketing powerhouse now been severely impacted due to this? Because for all practical purposes, we know BCCI controls the ICC. So is this now a new blot on India as this cricketing powerhouse?
It will impact them, not just cricketing, because if you take it in conjunction with whatever else is happening around, it is... you know, when people start writing about India like it has become intolerant, then all these incidents, say in countries where cricket doesn't matter, but what they will say is that, look, it's not just happening in one area, it's happening around everything, whether it is sport, whether it is... So it's obviously going to dent our image badly.
Ayaz, let me come to you then. Do you feel that BCCI has now been pushed into a corner on this issue? I mean, if they cancel the series, which all the reports indicate that they will be doing, then they will be accused of succumbing to pressure. But if they actually go ahead, then they will come under even more attack from the hardliners.
Well, look, I don't think they can go ahead without, you know, the government agreeing to it. So in that sense, they are at the mercy of the government where playing cricket with Pakistan is concerned. Look, Indo-Pak cricket relations, more than anything else, more than any other sport, have been as complex as they are captivating, have been as frustrating as they are fascinating. We still carry, I think, across both the divide in both countries, the burden of partition the national and the religious identities and the jingoism which accompanies the sport or the contest is still prevalent. And at the same time, it is cricket which has salvaged so often the situation, the political situation for India and Pakistan, just when it seemed that the relationships would nosedive. It has happened in the past. So it's a very complex situation, but I don't think that the BCCI can do much about playing Pakistan. Even in a offshore country, even in a neutral country, they cannot decide on their own that they will go and play Pakistan. They might do it with any other country, but not with Pakistan until the government clears the tour.
In fact, I remember, Ayaz, you had once written that if this rivalry were to be sanctified, shed its negative paraphernalia, then and be restricted to sport, then it will actually help, both the countries. But realistically speaking, how feasible is that? Considering the sort of rivalry we see between India and Pakistan is perhaps unparalleled in the sporting world. No other two countries that have fought 4 wars play so regularly with each other. Hence, there is no realistic yardstick to gauge this sporting tie. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's any parallel. There's no other example like this in sports anywhere in the world. Perhaps not in the history of sports. I mean, something like this has ever happened. So it's very complicated. It's very complex. At times it gets very chaotic. On other times it becomes a great meeting ground for people, for politicians, obviously for fans. We saw in the 2004 series when India went to Pakistan, I mean, there was a sense of enjoyment for everybody, including the Indian fans who had gone there. And likewise, when Pakistan came here in 1998, after beating India at Chennai, I mean, they got a standing ovation. They were celebrated everywhere. So it's and every now and then you'll find that there is tension. People are on tenterhooks. It's almost like a warlike situation caused by whatever. But that's the nature of this relationship, and I suppose that's the way it is.
Right. Thanks for that, Ayaz. But let's just quickly switch gears, because the other big news, of course, is Virendra Sehwag retiring. Ayaz, take it first, and then I'll throw it back to Pradeep. Sehwag has now retired, of course. I mean, his exploits in Test matches are memorable. But yet, do you feel that he's not taken seriously enough as a Test batsman because of his unorthodox style of batting? Perhaps the WG Grace wouldn't have approved his style, for instance.
Oh, I think he's one of the greatest of all time, certainly. And I think if you ask bowlers who bowl to him, they would, I mean, he put the fear of God in them. In my experience of watching cricket in the last maybe 45, 50 years, there's, perhaps only Viv Richards had that aura about him where bowlers would dread getting onto the field and trying to bowl at him. The next man in is Sehwag. I mean, I can't think of any other batsman from anywhere, any other country who has had that same impact on the bowlers. He appeared to be carefree. He played very freely. I think he had a very uncomplicated approach because he had a very uncluttered mind. He was not bound by the dogma of technique, so to speak, but he had he had obviously, apart from great eyesight and eye-hand coordination, he played a superb percentage game. He knew what he was doing. Now, obviously, when he started aging, those same strokes didn't work, but for the 10 years that he was in his pomp, there has been no bigger match winner for India than Virendra Sehwag.
Well said, Ayaz. Pradeep, does it sadden you that unlike the other greats, Sehwag never really got the send-off that he would otherwise deserved?
Well, I'm sure the way we all are writing about it, or the fans are reacting, that's the greatest send-off. And I agree with whatever Ayaz has said. I don't think the world international cricket has seen a batsman as aggressive as Sehwag after Viv Richards. And I don't think India has seen a greater player in terms of impacting Test cricket, or in terms of winning a match, in terms of putting the fear of the God to the rival bowlers. I think Sehwag in that way is unique, and forget Tendulkar has been, in terms of his longevity and run scoring, you can say the greatest player. But I think in terms of impact on the game, in the period he has played, he's been equally great.
Okay, guys, no thinking. Pradeep, to you first. Your favorite knock of Virendra Sehwag, and then Ayaz to you.
Well, it's very difficult to pick a Sehwag knock. I don't know. I remember his debut at in South Africa, where he made 100. He was not opening the innings. Then he has played honestly, it's very difficult to pick one Sehwag innings over the other. Even his triple 100, or if he makes 30, 40, as long as he's batting, it was just enthralling, and it was so riveting that it's very difficult to pick an innings just offhand.
Obviously, a man who's made two triple hundreds is such a rarity, so those triple hundreds would be special. He's made a spate of double hundreds also, which shows that he was not just a slam bang cricketer. The guy played, big innings, but he made runs so fast that he put the opposition under a lot of pressure. My personal favourite would be one which I saw at the Memon Stadium against Sri Lanka, when I think he hammered 287 in a day. And if he was not trying to reach his 300 with sixes, he would probably have made a triple hundred again and been the only person in Test history to make 3 triple hundreds. But he never cared for records,
Thanks so very much, gentlemen, for joining me at this late hour. If you were to ask me my personal favourite, that was about 83 runs that Virendra Sehwag scored against England in 2008, soon after there were terrorist attacks in Mumbai, of course. And India was chasing close to 400 runs. And it's the launch pad that Virendra Sehwag laid that actually enabled India to chase down one of its highest totals in its Test cricket history. Anyway, moving